Every morning they appear. No announcement, no warning. One moment the yard is empty, and then, as if placed there by something invisible, they arrive. They sing, they watch, and when you turn away, they disappear again. But have you ever stopped to ask, what are they actually doing out there? Hidden among the branches, the rooftops, and the quiet corners of your garden, backyard birds are living secret lives that most people never notice. Lives filled with intelligence, memory, language, and something that looks surprisingly close to emotion. This is not a story about birds in some faraway wilderness. This is a story about the birds already watching your yard. There is a crow that has studied your face, not metaphorically, literally. But why would a bird need to remember a human face? What possible reason could a creature that weighs less than a cup of coffee have to track individual people? The answer begins with something most of us never notice. Research from the University of Washington confirmed that crows can recognize and remember individual human faces, and hold grudges for years against people who once threatened them. They have been observed warning other crows, passing that knowledge down across generations. The bird you see perched on your fence each morning may have been watching this yard long before you ever noticed it, long before you moved in. Possibly, long before anything about your yard had changed. Deep inside a bird's brain is a region that builds detailed mental maps of the world, storing not just locations, but timing, history, and consequence. Scientists call it the hippocampus. And in some birds, particularly jays and crows, it is remarkably developed, capable of tracking hundreds of food hiding spots, recalling how much time has passed, estimating whether the food is still good. Think about what that means while you're scrolling your phone. The sparrow outside your window has already memorized every corner of your pie, garden, every branch, every feeder position, every route, in and out. The birds visiting your yard are not random visitors passing through. They chose this place, and they chose to stay. While most people are still asleep, a conversation has already started above their rooftops. Right now, above your yard, an invisible network of information is being exchanged. Birds don't simply sing. They communicate with a precision and layered complexity that researchers are only beginning to fully understand. To us, it sounds like birdsong. To another bird, it could be a warning, a precise location update, or a call to return home. There are alarm calls that specify not just danger, but the type of danger. A hawk circling overhead gets a short, sharp, high-pitched signal that other birds instantly recognize. A cat moving through the grass below gets a completely different call, lower, longer, more directional. Neighboring birds of entirely different species pick up these signals and respond accordingly. Scientists call it heterospecific eavesdropping. Animals listening in on other species' alarm systems the way a traveler learns just enough of a foreign language to know when something is wrong. But that's not the strangest part. The quieter signals are where things get remarkable. Mated pairs use soft contact calls to track each other through dense foliage. Sounds so subtle that most humans never register them. Birds mark invisible territorial boundaries with song, drawing lines no human can see. And the begging calls of chicks are precisely calibrated, loud enough to reach a parent, quiet enough not to carry to a predator. When you hear birds singing outside your window in the morning, you are standing at the edge of a conversation that has been going on for millions of years. And almost none of it is meant for you. Here is something most people never consider. While you're rushing to work, birds are already deep into their second or third hour of the day's most critical work. A bird's entire waking life is a survival calculation running in real time. Every hop across the grass is a risk assessment. Every second at the feeder is weighed against the energy cost of escaping if something moves. Territory patrols happen on invisible schedules. Social hierarchies are enforced in split-second exchanges that look, to human eyes, like absolutely nothing. As the first sunlight touches the branches behind your house, small shadows begin to move between the leaves. And what those shadows are doing is far more deliberate than it appears. Preening isn't grooming for vanity. Feathers are life or death aerodynamic equipment. A bird with damaged or misaligned feathers cannot escape a predator cleanly, cannot hold heat in cold air, cannot make the precise turns that keep it alive. Every few minutes, a bird runs a kind of silent systems check on the only machine it will ever have. But scientists discovered something even more surprising in certain species. Crows, jays, ravens. These birds have been caught sliding down snowy rooftops, repeatedly, deliberately, apparently for no survival reason, dropping small objects and catching them mid-air, engaging in what every measurable behavior suggests is play. Play, in evolutionary biology, is not an accident. It builds problem-solving pathways. It develops neural flexibility. It exists, as far as we understand, in minds capable of something beyond pure instinct. The bird at your feeder may be doing more than eating. It may be thinking about what comes next. As darkness spreads across the neighborhood, birds seem to disappear entirely. The yard goes quiet, the branches empty out. In reality, they've simply entered a part of their lives most humans never witness. The moment the light drops below a certain threshold, a coordinated, invisible transition begins. Small songbirds move to the densest part of the tree in your yard, the interior, where branches cluster, where the temperature holds a few degrees warmer, where anything approaching has to push through layers of cover first. They tuck down. They slow. What happens next is rarely seen by humans. Their heart rate drops. Their body temperature lowers. Metabolism pulls back to the minimum necessary to survive. Until morning. This controlled shutdown, called torpor, is the difference between a bird that makes it to dawn and one that doesn't. In winter, the energy math becomes ruthless. A small bird that doesn't find enough food by late afternoon may not generate enough body heat to survive 8 hours of darkness. And yet the threat doesn't disappear at night. Owls hunt. Raccoons climb. Predators that cannot operate in daylight become active the moment it ends. So some birds sleep with one eye open, literally. A mechanism called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep allows one hemisphere of the brain to enter deep rest, while the other remains alert and processing. Ducks resting at the edge of a group face outward, one eye open, scanning. The birds at the center sleep fully. The birds at the edge don't. They take shifts. In silence, in the dark, in the tree, at the back of your yard. And then there are the ones who use that darkness to travel. Billions of birds migrate at night, navigating by star maps memorized in early life. Magnetic fields detected through structures in their eyes and inner ear, and polarized light patterns at sunset that act as a compass reset. Radar systems, watching the sky at dusk, have picked up what looks like weather, large, slow-moving clouds rising from the ground. Those clouds are birds. Hundreds of thousands of birds lifting off simultaneously, crossing dark skies that appear completely empty. The backyard you look out at in the morning may have hosted dozens of quiet travelers overnight, resting in your trees, gone before you opened the curtains. Some birds mate for a single season and never cross paths again. Others spend years or a lifetime with the same partner. Even common backyard birds like robins and mourning doves show deep pair loyalty. They return to the same yard, the same nesting corner, the same partner, season after season. The tree in your backyard may be hiding a story that's been going on for years, a pair that has returned to the same branch for longer than you've lived there. But what happens between arrival and departure is extraordinary to witness. Nest building begins like architecture. Stems, bark strips, mud, spiderwebs, each material chosen deliberately, placed precisely. The structure has to hold weight, resist wind, regulate temperature, and be difficult for a predator to access from below. Both parents build, both parents incubate, and then the chicks arrive. For weeks, every trip, every insect caught, every short flight becomes part of a single goal, keeping the next generation alive. A single pair of blue tits has been recorded making over 1,000 feeding trips to a nest in a single 1,000. One day. When you watch a bird land in your yard, pick up an insect, and fly immediately away, there is a very good chance it is heading back to a nest somewhere close. Somewhere within a few hundred feet of where you're standing. And then there is a moment that behavioral researchers have documented but never quite resolved. When a nest fails, parent birds return to the empty site. They sit on the bare branch. They wait. They leave. They come back and wait again. Whether that is grief in any form science can verify, we cannot say. But it is not nothing. Every morning a small bird opens its eyes. It has already won something. Of every 10 eggs hatched by a typical backyard songbird, fewer than 2 will live to become breeding adults. Predators take chicks from nests. Weather kills in cold snaps. Food disappears. A chickadee in winter has to eat almost constantly during daylight hours. Because the thermal math is exact, some birds can physically grow the part of their brain responsible for spatial memory during caching season. The brain rewires itself, expands, performs, contracts. Every bird you see from your window is a survivor. It has evaded predators, found food, survived cold, and made hundreds of decisions every day. You just happen to look at the right moment. The bird visiting your yard today has very likely been watching this place for months. And studies on. Bird site fidelity show that many species return not just to the same neighborhood, but to individual properties. Specific trees, specific corners, specific feeders positioned in specific spots. They carry a mental map of your yard that is more detailed than you probably realize. Internal magnetic compasses, star maps, polarized light. All of that complexity, all of that processing. And then the bird lands on the branch outside your window and sits quietly for a moment. Nothing about that image has changed. Only the way you're seeing it. Tomorrow morning, when you hear birds outside your window, try to hear it differently. Not background noise. Not decoration for the morning. Something closer to an entire world running just at the edge of your perception, full of memory, decisions, relationships, language, and feeling. The bird on the branch outside your yard has been places you have never been, Nothing about the bird has changed. Only the way you see it. The next time a bird lands somewhere in your yard, you may still hear the same song. But now you'll know that behind those feathers is a life filled with memory, strategy, relationships, and quiet intelligence happening just outside your window every single day.